Hey, there we go. Finally doing one of these at home. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be up north, but I'm a dummy. It's actually kind of funny. I sort of have been planning these out a few days ahead of time, and today's plan was going to be digging into uh, bipolar disorder. And I did a pretty bipolar thing and got all my stuff ready to go and headed on up the hill, but I forgot to load up the single most important thing I could have loaded up, and that was my overnight bag with my medications, including my nicotine patches. So, of course, I woke up this morning just in a rough state because I hadn't slept very well at all and didn't have a fresh nicotine patch to put on. So, the one that I had on was already almost 20 hours old by the time I woke up. It was a crazy day, so I had to shoot back down the hill and make sure I got that taken care of today because it's one of those easy things. I was mentioned to a friend the other day that it's really easy when you run out of medication to just stop because hey, I feel pretty good and I'm not on my medication. I must be all right, but it's not always something you get better from. And in my case, I've gone off them a couple of times. I usually have about one really crazy, I don't even know what to call it, drop off every couple of years where I either forget to order my medication or I just come off of it for whatever reason. And that mindset gets in there that, well, I'm feeling fine right now, so I must be better. But it doesn't get better that way a lot of times. And so it's great for 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe a month and a half. And then when the low comes in, when that real dark depression comes in and that medication isn't there to help counterbalance it, it takes a really long time to crawl back out of that hole. And I've made so much progress that I don't need to deal with that on top of everything else that's going to be going on this year, especially getting so busy with school. I mean, I've been working part time mostly for the last couple of years anyway, and well, since COVID anyway, and don't need to take that step back. Um, I already had a really rough summer while I was on my medication. About the time I moved in July, I fell into a hole that took me the better part of the rest of the year to crawl back out of. And I don't want to do that again. Having to deal with that while I'm in school and, which is going to be a job. I mean, it's going to be a 40, 50, 60 hour a week job going to school when you factor in labs. Even though the class time's short, I'm only in school, 10, 11, 12, 1, 4 hours a day. Uh, if I'm not doing the labs constantly, if I'm not in the studio every minute that I can be when I'm not in class, I'm not going to be getting the most out of the program. And so it's really important that I maintain that medication so that I can keep that balance with the moods. And it's not just about the depression either. The mania when I'm off my medications is just something else. I can't even really describe it. I mean, I don't sleep for 3, 4 days, and I'm just go 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 go, and then I usually crash into. It's usually I get about one of those a year where it's real bad, and the depression that follows it is awful. And so it's important to remember that I'm not better. I'm getting better. Will I ever be good enough not to require medication? I don't know. Can't say, but now's not the time to find out. I got a lot going on this year, and definitely not going to compromise that with something as simple as not taking a couple of pills every day. Doesn't make any sense. And that I'm finding is how to deal with a lot of the symptoms. So I haven't been pinned with bipolar disorder in those words, but bipolar spectrum. Definitely have lesser symptoms than other members of my family. But between the chemical imbalance that I didn't even know I had until a handful of years ago. And the severity of that imbalance when I'm off my medication, and then adding in uh, the torment that I've experienced in my life from a very young age. Some of it later on my own doing. My uh, 5.5 year run in with alcoholism. That was a riot. Alcoholism and bipolar disorder do not mix, and it makes it impossible to confront that trauma from all those many years ago. And even at this point, I don't really remember a whole lot, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect my life every day. And especially in the last 4 or 5 years or so, I started learning from members of my family about some of the things that I didn't even know I had gone through as a child. It it's really opened my eyes to the fact that this getting better thing isn't just a checklist, and once I finish the checklist and everything's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good to go and I'm done. It's not. It's a lifelong process of getting better. So I definitely want to do a deeper dive with some input from my friends and family at some point, but I just want to talk about, I guess, run over, sort of summarize my experiences with bipolar disorder and anxiety that I deal with sometimes daily. Today, especially, even yesterday, I'll get back to that here in a minute, but I definitely want to do a deeper dive, especially with some other voices weighing in, people that I know that have this disease and live with it every day, some more successful than others. I Today I just kind of want to go over basic, sort of just speaking out, putting it out there what I feel with and what I contend with in the course of any given month. Of course, I have those cycles, and I want to say I've got about it's about quarterly. Sometimes it almost seems to change with the mood, but I have 3 to 4 big swings every year. Either straight into a deep depression or into that real high, unstoppable superhero mania that then plunges into that depression. And even with medication, it really helps with the mania, but the the depression is still, even with medication, can be incredibly difficult to overcome. And like yesterday, after being in bed for 11 hours, it was the hardest thing in the world just to get out of bed. And it's funny because I'd had a really good couple of weeks, despite the hours from this job just being murder on any sort of sleep schedule. It's it was the hardest thing I've done in the last couple of weeks, was just getting out of bed yesterday. It was easy today because I wasn't asleep anyway. I didn't get much sleep at all last night. I was gonna take a nap, but here I've gotten home so late that it's just not in the cards for me today to have a nap. So I'll stick it out until 1 or 2 in the morning and hopefully pass out then. But it's a constant reminder. Now, where it really gets difficult is all the little things that don't occur to me, like the importance of remembering my overnight bag so that I have my medication. I could be up there for a week if I have my overnight bag, but I shouldn't even be up there overnight if I don't, because I don't have that medication to help me sleep. And the kind of medication that I'm on as an antidepressant and a mood stabilizer aren't the kind that I can just drop and pick back up. They're medications that I have to be on that daily dose, and if I miss a dose, it can have long-reaching consequences. I mean, even weeks in some cases, just by missing a single dose. And it compounds the other issues. But there are also weird little things that happen. Like I decided I was going to take my 12-string guitar up there. that I purchased from a friend recently, and it needs a saddle. It's old. It's been through quite a few shows, but it's been on stage more than I've probably been on stage. I don't know, maybe not. But it needs a new saddle, and I kind of knew that, but it was sort of holding on there, and I could play some of the neck without worrying about any buzzing that's too crazy up on the higher frets because the saddle's so worn down. But it was almost unplayable, and it's just the little things. There's so many little things, like taking up a guitar that I know is going to work. Um, Taking a guitar that's going to be quiet enough that I can shred on it at work without bothering anybody else thereabout. It's just remembering to take medication, remembering to brush my teeth, remembering to shower today, remembering that, oh, there's dishes that need to get done. And a lot of it just doesn't even occur to me until those habits are built. And so with the medication, I've got a good habit built now. With a lot of the around the house stuff that I'm awful at, I've got a good habit built now. And it's all just been little things here and there. And once I started doing these little things, they started adding up into bigger things. And it's to the point now where it's even frustrating if I can't take the time to do them. But there's also the matter of simple tasks seeming almost insurmountable. But that's why it's important to take care of those tasks when I'm in a better state, so that when the time comes that I'm in that rough spot, that it seems impossible, it's just such a natural part of my everyday life that I just do it without even thinking about it. Because there are so many things that I do have to think about so actively to even get them done. I mean, even eating a half decent meal twice a day is really hard sometimes, because it just doesn't even occur to me to eat. And that's been getting a lot better. I started cooking again, not as often as I should, but that made a huge difference in terms of food consumption. Because once it's cooked, I'm gonna eat it. Even if it's in the fridge, I gotta scoop some in a bowl and microwave it. That's not a problem. But not only does it make it more likely that I'm going to eat something because I've taken the time to cook, it's a lot healthier than just nuking a little tray of Michelinas or some crap like that that's no good for me. Been eating that junk my whole life, and it's when I take the time to prepare real food and get enough that I can eat for a couple of days without having to worry about messing with it again, I feel better. Because I'm eating enough, and I'm eating food that's actually all right for me, and not just as much junk as I can cram into my body to get my body to shut up and stop telling me, hey, something's wrong. Oh yeah, you got to eat today. So it's been a really interesting journey, and I'm really excited for this year. Last year was a really big year. I made a lot of progress, and even the last few months have been extremely important in my life for turning around. My brain wants to default to this state of just do as little as possible because none of it matters anyway. You're just going to be depressed anyway. You're not going to be able to get out of bed. You're not going to be able to make that bowl of dirty rice or Brussels sprouts or even steak. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just the brain gets in the way. And I talk about that to friends and family too. My brain versus my mind, and they're constantly at war with each other. And what I mean by that is there's my conscious mind, which I have some degree of control over, and then there's the chemical reactions in my brain that drive these symptoms that make life incredibly difficult at times. And it's being medicated and taking these little steps is a peace treaty. There's going to be conflict again, but if I can keep it to where it's these little brush fire conflicts and not some like nuclear apocalypse, then I'll be all right. And coming to that realization and thinking, going back to mindfulness even, which is what got me through rehab in 2015. I mean, everything was religion in rehab. It was AA and it was church services, and fortunately, the VA offered a wider variety of options available, so I was able to participate in smart recovery. But mindfulness meditation, I thought it was a joke when I got in there. I really did. And I don't know if it was just a matter of giving it a shot or if it was also my looking into the research to see how it helps people with the chemical imbalances like me and past trauma like I have. Uh, when I started doing it and I started paying attention and I started participating, it is what got me through rehab. And there were a couple of times that it was pretty close, and of course over the years I had stopped drinking for a couple of weeks, but it never stuck. And of course, I relapsed during COVID. Things just got insane at work. It was a different hotel than I'm working at now. Actually, in the opposite direction of my house, closer to the house, but a further commute. Go figure. Um, that that turned into a really rough time, and ultimately ended with me losing that job. And got back on the straight and narrow again, and at that point I finally had the understanding, and all of those lessons from rehab sort of clicked into place, and I was on the phone a couple of times about getting into rehab again in the beginning of 2020, and I just quit. I didn't want to bother with rehab, so I just stopped. I recognized this is stupid. It's just like the last time. I know how to do this. I've done it before, and I stopped. And seeing those lessons, not only for handling vices like alcohol, but handling this constant battle with my brain, finally seeing those lessons come to fruition and be an active part of my life has been such a phenomenal experience in the last year. And it's still hard. And like I said, I had a really rough depression last summer. I mean, I was out for months, and I didn't think I was ever going to get better. But I got into a good job. I started eating, and it's gradually been getting better from there. So a rough day the last couple of days, but it happens. Sometimes there are just rough days. Sometimes there are amazing days. And it's just a matter of looking forward to those amazing days and striving for contentment in the rest of them. I don't want to ramble on much longer. This already went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but anyway, I'm going to try and get some guitar videos up here in the next couple of days, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your evening.